And now we get to the co-main event of the evening in the UFC's middleweight division between the former reigning defending middleweight champion and the number 1 ranked Robert the Reaper Whittaker, going up against the number 2 ranked former middleweight title challenger and top contender coming off of a huge victory over Paulo Costa at 205 pounds, and Marvin the Italian Dream Vettori. Vettori versus Whittaker for the co-main event of UFC Paris, and honestly, it's a great fight. It's a very, very competitive matchup, and I think a lot of people in this fight overall are going to just be instantly siding with Whittaker because of his activity, his power, his striking technique, the grappling he showcased in the fights against Kelvin Gastelum, Israel Adesanya. They're going to really be siding with Whittaker because he has shown evolvement, and a lot of people believe that he beat Israel Adesanya in that rematch at UFC 271. And to be honest, I would not fault you for thinking that Whittaker beat Adesanya. It was a very close fight. That was actually the night I went 7-0 for picks on the podcast. We did a clean sweep for the first time. And I was very nervous because I picked Adesanya, but I thought that they were going to give the decision to Whittaker because of the takedowns, because of the pressure, because of the counter ability. I thought that his wrestling and grappling looked the best that it's ever looked. And I know you look at a guy like Marvin Vettori, who's a southpaw. You got southpaw versus orthodox. A very good, solid, straight left hand from Vettori. We'll pair it up straight left, sit back, come with the left uppercut right up the middle, pop, pop, boom, boom, 1-2. It's very rudimentary striking for Marvin Vettori. A lot of boxing, really not too many kicks. I think if you're going to expect kicks in this matchup, it's going to come more from the side of a Whittaker. He's going to do that 1-2 same side high kick, the 1-2 lead uppercut, which is your 5, and then the rear high kick, the 1-5, 2 right high kick, 1-5 rear high kick. I mean, it's always usually punctuating the boxing combos with the kicking game. I think if Vettori cannot get past the kicking range of a Robert Whittaker, it's going to be a very, very difficult night for him. You look at the overall records, Vettori coming off that very impressive win over Paulo the Eraser Costa, and then that was also at 205 pounds, and then Whittaker coming off that razor close decision loss to Israel Adesanya, who is still the champion at 185 pounds. You look at the height, equal height for both men, a half an inch reach advantage for Marvin Vettori, but I expect that Whittaker will be the one to really dictate the fight when it comes to fighting at range. If Vettori wants to win this fight, he's going to have to put on the pressure against Whittaker, really try to land that straight left hand, get Whittaker, backing up behind the jab, and then as he backs him up to the cage wall and Whittaker tries to move laterally, whether it's left or right, and tries to dart in, that's when he has to tie up Whittaker, get him in the over-under position, get him in the double underhooks, land the knees to the thighs, the knees to the body, strike off the break, go right back to the takedowns. If Vettori wants to win this fight, he's only going to win this fight off pressure, wrestling, and grappling. He's going to have to really cut down the range, get in the face of Whittaker, and be able to take him down and control him on the floor. And to be honest, if we're looking at this fight, I really think this is an uphill battle for Vettori, because even though Vettori is going to be declared the better wrestler, I think Whittaker is better at changing positions. I think his defensive grappling is better than Marvin Vettori, and I also think his ability to get back up to his feet, shrimping his hips, using the wizard, using the underhook on the opposite side, circling back to the center of the cage, really just immediately trying to work his way back up, his sprawl. You saw his takedown defense showcased heavily in the fight against, the fights against Yoel Romero. I mean, if a guy like that's not able to take you down and control you, I don't necessarily think that Vettori's going to be able to get control either. And I think that this is really just an uphill battle for Marvin Vettori. I'm not saying I don't think he can win. One thing you have to understand is that this fight is 3 rounds. If Vettori's able to get Whittaker backing up, if he's able to even just control Whittaker up against the fence in the over-under position, the double underhooks, and really not allow Whittaker to break and create space and get off that solid jab, get off that solid 1-2. But another thing that I think is going to really make it harder for Vettori is that karate style Wonderboy Thompson-esque in and out movement. In, out, pop the jab. In, out, pop the jab. He'll slip his head off the center line and come in with a double or a triple jab. Then he'll pop the jab. Then he'll throw the 1-2. Then he'll fake, stutter step, boom. He'll come in with a cross, just pot-shotting you. Whittaker can mix it up in the combinations. He can fight behind the jab. He can pop that right hand. If you slip outside the right hand, then he's going to pair it with the 1-2 same side high kick, the cross into the same side high kick. And the takedowns in wrestling, I honestly think that Whittaker might be able to take Vettori down in the 3rd round. I think that if he's able to get him really hesitating with the striking, that he might be able to get those takedowns, reactionary takedowns. That's also going to be a thing for Vettori, though, since Whittaker is so in and out, in and out, in and out. When he darts in, you know, Vettori might be able to meet that forward pressure with his takedown and get those takedowns. But the thing is, even if he gets those takedowns, I do not expect him to be able to keep Whittaker on the floor. I don't expect him to be able to get any type of submission offense off. I don't think he'll take the back of Whittaker. I don't think he'll lock up a submission. I think even if he does get a takedown, I'd say Vettori probably gets maybe 1 takedown in this fight. I could see him putting Whittaker down at least once with a takedown. But I think Whittaker's defensive grappling, his ability to hip heist, you know, the underhook on the opposite side, the overhook and the wizard to, you know, get the separation and get back up to his feet. I just really don't see an area where Vettori wins this fight. But one thing I do think is that Vettori is very durable. He's very durable, and it's not easy to get, you know, to catch him on the chin. We've seen Whittaker's durability tested plenty of times. He's been rocked by heavy power punchers and very accurate strikers. I think there is a possibility that Vettori could catch Whittaker stepping in with that straight left hand. But like I said, the more weapons on the feet, the ability to mix it up with the kickboxing and the boxing, that's all going to go to the side of the former champion in Robert Whittaker. Like, I'm not saying that I don't think Vettori has good striking. He does. Like I said, very solid straight left hand. There's really no wind up behind it. He's able to circle off to that lead side to get the outside foot. He uses some good fakes and feints. Whittaker uses some really good fakes and feints as well, but that in and out style, it's going to make it harder for Vettori to time the striking and especially to time those takedowns. And like I said, even if he times it, I don't expect him to be able to get Whittaker to his back and really get much of anything in terms of, you know, effective offensive techniques. I think that he could get the takedowns. Like I said, I expect him to maybe get 1 or 2 takedowns, but effective offensive striking and grappling from the top position against the Whittaker, I don't really think that Whittaker's going to give him that time, and he's not going to sit on his back even if he does get taken down. So if I'm really going to make a pick here, I have to side with the former champion and the #1 ranked Robert Whittaker. I mean, he doesn't lose fights that aren't for the title. He lost to Israel Adesanya, went on a win streak, beat Darren Till, beat Kelvin Gastelum, beat Jared Cannonier. I mean, he's beating all these guys and he's making it look amazing. He's making it look easy, quite frankly. He did get caught by Darren Till with a step-in elbow one time, and then he also did get clipped by Jared Cannonier, but those are really heavy power punchers, and I just don't think Vettori has the power to hurt Whittaker, which is going to make Whittaker a little bit more confident in the striking game. So I really think this is just an uphill battle for Marvin Vettori. He looked good against Costa. I don't think that Vettori is going to get chinned here. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. If you can take a high kick by Paulo Costa, I believe that you can take the high kicks of Robert Whittaker, but Whittaker is a lot faster with the striking techniques and his ability to mix up the 1-2 same side high kick, the 5-2, 1-5-2 same side high kick, the jab, lead uppercut, right high kick as they slip off the center line. I think the ability to mix in the striking and the wrestling and just being the overall more well-rounded mixed martial artist. Whittaker can box, Whittaker can kickbox, Whittaker can fight you in the clinch, he can get those takedowns, and he has the jiu-jitsu and grappling ability to not get held down by a primarily dominant wrestler in Marvin Vettori, but I don't think that dominance is really going to get him anywhere in this fight, and he's not going to be able to dominate Whittaker, even if he does get him on his back. You look at win percentages, I mean, 50% of the wins for Vettori come by way of submission and 40% by decision. He only has an 11% finishing rate. Whittaker, 42% finishing rate, 21% submission rate, and then 38% decision rate. Really well spread out across the board. Like I said, more well-rounded. Striking defense, or significant strike accuracy, you actually have to go on the side of Vettori. 45% significant strikes compared to 42 for Whittaker. And then strikes absorbed per minute, Whittaker actually takes less than Vettori, 3.32 to 3.48, and is 1% more effective with the defense. But I mean, I really don't see an area where Vettori wins this fight unless he is able to control on the cage and control Whittaker up against the fence, land those knees to the body, land punches and strikes off the break, and then immediately shoot back in on the takedowns. If he's able to keep Whittaker against the fence for, 12 or 15 minutes of this fight and really just push him back and not allow him to get any forward moving attacks, coming in, I think that's going to be a problem. But you do have to look at the effective ability of Whittaker to pivot off that lead foot. He's able to pivot going backwards with that check left hook, and I think you're going to see him pair that jab to the left hook to pivot off if Vettori is pressuring him, so he can get off the cage and get back to the center and then get at range where he wants to be at. So even if Vettori does back him up, I expect jab, lead left hook, pivot off to the lead side, and then Whittaker just does what he does at range and really uses that effective jab and those kicks to get a pretty dominant decision victory here. I'm going to go with the number 1 ranked Robert the Reaper Whittaker to defeat the number 2 ranked Marvin the Italian Dream Vettori via a 29-28 unanimous decision. I think Vettori is durable enough to not get finished by Whittaker. I don't expect Vettori to be able to finish Whittaker on the feet at all, and I don't necessarily see him being able to lock up a submission and get the win. And over a 15-minute fight, I think it's going to be very hard for Vettori to bank 2 out of 3 rounds. I think the 15 minutes does favor Vettori a little bit more. If it was a 25-minute fight, I don't really see any way that Vettori would win this fight, but I still don't think he's going to be able to win at least 2 out of 3 rounds against Whittaker. I think he might bank 1. Maybe he gets a takedown at the end of a close round and steals it, which is why I got to go with the 29-28 unanimous decision victory for the number 1 ranked former middleweight champion and Robert the Reaper Whittaker. He's sitting at a minus 230 right now on the money line to a plus 195 dog. I don't really see much value on the dog in Vettori, but there is always that possibility that one of these really, really dominant fighters, some of the best, when they eventually fall off, it's usually a pretty heavy fall from grace, but I don't think this is the time where Whittaker gets beat by a contender unless it is the champion and adesanya. So I'm going to have to go with Robert the Reaper Whittaker to defeat Marvin the Italian Dream Vettori via 29-28 unanimous decision. And at a minus 230 price tag, I think he's a very, very solid piece for your parlays next weekend. I like Whittaker as a parlay piece. I like Whittaker and Imavov as parlay pieces. I think if you want to bet straight up, you probably bet fight goes the distance, and you'll probably get a better line than a minus 230. But I got to go with the former champion here and Robert Whittaker to defeat Marvin the Italian Dream Vettori via 29-28 unanimous decision on the judges' scorecards.